Welcome, everybody. I'm hoping that everybody can hear and can see the screen. My name's Alison Ritter. I'm the Director of the Drug Policy Modelling Program, and I'm currently on the land of the Birrabirragal peoples of the Eora Nation in what we know as one part of Sydney. I recognise that this land's been stolen and never been ceded. I also acknowledge all of the stolen lands that everyone here is joining us from. And I was hearing this afternoon about some difficult weather conditions up around Palm Island and recognise the importance of caring for country, which First Nations people have been doing for 65,000 years. And we have so much to learn from them. Thank you for joining us for this Lived and Lived Experience information working group information session. I'm just going to say a couple of introduction and housekeeping comments, and then I'm going to hand over to my colleague, Paul, also from the Drug Policy Modelling Program, and Joelle from AVIL to present some information. And then we've got loads and loads of time for questions. First thing to say is that we wanted to make this information session as accessible and as confidential as possible. That's why you can't see people on the screen. We know we've got 12 people joining us. There might be more people who come, but we wanted to keep it accessible without video and also confidential. We have a Q&A button. If you haven't used Zoom before, you'll see there's already one question in the Q&A button. That's where you can put your comments and your questions. The chat box is, so we're not using the chat function, we're using the Q&A function. Please add anything you like to the Q&A section. You can add questions or comments right now. You can add them as we go through the information. And we want to make sure that you have as much time as possible to hear all the information that we've got to give you and to ask as many questions as you want to. The last thing to say is that we are recording this session and we will make the recording available. We know it was short notice and not everyone could come along. We will be removing any identifying information, should there be any, in that recording, but that's another reason for keeping the videos off and making it as accessible as possible. So if you want to get a copy of the recording because you want to put it through your networks or talk to someone who you think might be interested in the working group, Paul and Joelle will give you their contact details at the end. I think, Paul, have I forgotten anything that I was supposed to say?
I think that's it.
Fantastic. Can I hand over to you now? Thank you very much, Paul.
Thanks, Alison. Hi, everyone. My name's Paul. I'm joining from Wongaland today. Um, just to say that I'm going to be talking a bit about what we're evaluating and what the evaluation is before passing on to Joelle to talk about the working group, what that involves, and the process for expressing interest, and just talk through some of the logistics there. But let's jump into the evaluation. So first, thanks everyone for coming. It's really great to have interest in participating in the working group. We are evaluating the Queensland Government's alcohol and other drugs strategy, which is called Achieving Balance, the Queensland Alcohol and Other Drugs Plan 2022 to 2027. This plan was released in 2022 with implementation of the plan and activities underneath it, ending in June 2027. The plan itself is led by the Queensland Mental Health Commission. So a bit of detail about the plan. So Achieving Balance is pitched as the government's plan to improve the AOD system, and it aims to reduce harm, to support people, and improve the systems that respond to alcohol and other drugs. So in terms of improving the systems, this is particularly around coordination between government and community and across sectors. So sectors such as health, justice, education, child safety, employment, and others. So kind of thinking broadly about the sectors that feed in here. How it seeks to do this is by approaching alcohol and other drug use and any harms that may arise from it through collective action between individuals, communities, and government. It has a few focus areas, and these are on vulnerability at the individual and family level. And this includes a focus on people who may experience heightened vulnerability. So, for instance, people with co-occurring mental health conditions, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples, culture. Alison, I think we've got a bit of feedback. If I can ask you to mute. Thank you. Um, yeah, so culturally and linguistically diverse people, children and young people, LGBTQIA plus people as well. Other focus areas of the plan include on harm and safety at the community level and at the systems level, so that kind of coordination piece. The plan kind of uh, puts forward two enablers of change and kind of how some of this could work. The first is on balancing investment, so money from government and effort across the three pillars of the broader harm minimization framework of the National Drug Strategy, and that is demand reduction, supply reduction, and harm reduction. Another enabler of change that the plan identifies is growing the skilled and culturally capable workforce. So this relates to the alcohol and other drugs workforce and strengthening that across both across treatment modalities, but also in harm reduction. It also refers to kind of strengthening the peer workforce as well. Importantly, it also identifies the need to strengthen capacity within other workforces who in how those workforces engage with alcohol and other drug use. So that's education, child safety, the kind of other sectors as well. Within achieving balance within the plan, it has five priorities: prevention and early intervention, enhancing treatment and supports, expanding diversion, so health responses instead of punishment, reducing stigma and discrimination, and reducing harms. And these five priorities in the plan have a number of actions underneath each of them, which I won't go into today. So in terms of the evaluation is independent of the Queensland Mental Health Commission and it's being led by us. So the Australian Injecting and Illicit Drug Users League, AVIL, and the Drug Policy Modelling Program. As part of this evaluation, we aim to assess progress of the activity under the plan and measure this against the five priority areas that are identified. We also aim to provide insight into areas of improvement and be inclusive across the whole evaluation with people with lived and living experience. So this goes all the way from leadership of the evaluation to every part of engagement throughout the evaluation. In terms of the independence, what that also means is that we are responsible for collecting all the data, analyzing all the data, and collating that into the reports that we then give back. In terms of what we'll look at, so the evaluation will look at both processes and impacts of achieving balance. And this includes to what extent the plan has led to more balanced investment. So again, that's government investment across those three pillars of demand reduction, supply reduction, and harm reduction. We'll also look at to what extent the plan has guided new initiatives that address vulnerability and harm and increase safety. We'll look at how the plan has impacted governance and coordination when it comes to planning and systems. And then we'll also look at how the plan has had impacts or addressed individual and family vulnerability and community safety and harm reduction as well. Other things we'll be looking at are the workforce, so how the plan has addressed the kind of capability and sustainability issues around the workforce, and how the plan itself has integrated lived and living experience throughout planning, throughout decision making, and throughout the evaluation process. So we'll be using 6 methods to do the evaluation. The first will be tracking implementation progress using documents. So this will be looking at the activities that have been funded, the reach of program implementation to date, and we'll also be then doing interviews and focus groups with stakeholders from across the kind of policy areas I mentioned. So health, education, child safety, justice, across the gamut. Importantly, throughout all of these, but in our interviews and focus groups, we'll also have a substantial focus on people with lived and living experience. In terms of the statistical analyses, we'll be looking at the broader impacts of the plan on vulnerability, harm, and safety, and looking at things like statewide trends to measure that. We'll also do some analysis around workforce changes. In terms of the investment analysis, this is really the piece that looks at where government money is going. So we'll look at the distribution of that current investment across the three pillars: demand reduction, harm reduction, supply reduction. In recognition that a lot of these formal processes can be quite inaccessible or beyond people's kind of interest or capacity to engage, we're also really keen to make it possible for as many people to feed into the evaluation as possible. And to this end, we're going to be doing a Have Your Voice Heard submissions process where people can feed kind of short written statements or even voice record and feed into the evaluation process through that way. We'll then do a few open forums in the second year of the evaluation which will kind of act as drop-in spaces where people can drop in and kind of respond or give their feedback to us directly. A few other kind of key details from the evaluation. It goes for 2 years, so this year and next year, and ends at the end of 2027. And we'll be developing an evaluation plan which will be developed based on a pre-existing evaluation framework that the Queensland Mental Health Commission has already commissioned. And we'll go into more detail about the evaluation plan, the method, the evaluation, and everything to do with achieving balance with the working group in our first meeting. And now to turn to the working group, I'll turn to Joelle to kind of talk through that process. Thanks, Joelle.
Thanks, Paul. And I'm coming from Bungamberawatha, which is on Wiradjuri country, down on the border of New South Wales and Victoria. So I'm going to talk about the Living Experience Advisory Group. We're looking for about 10 people who either they themselves have living experience or perhaps they're a carer for someone with living experience. I suppose what we're looking for is a group of you're our kind of will be our trusted advisors on the ground, giving us that local knowledge about what it's like to live in Queensland and interact with the various components of the alcohol and other drug strategy. I think one of the important roles will be making sure that as we're talking to stakeholders and gathering information, we'll come back to this advisory group to test things, to make sure that we've understood what we've heard correctly. But also we're looking for a bit of frank and fearless advice, as they call it. We want people to tell us directly if we've got something wrong or when we're doing something really well as well. And so like it's not just about your bringing your lived and living experiences of AOD use or caring for someone, but it's also the other aspects of our lives, whether that's gender or First Nation status or disability, or maybe you're a parent. And so, what we're looking for is for people to bring, the full gamut of their experiences to this advisory group. Can we go on for the next slide, please? And so, it's not just about us taking, getting the information from you and getting that expertise from you. We also want to give back to you. And so that's about the opportunity that we will have to mentor, whether that's through AVIL or the Drug Policy Modelling Program, depending on what your interests are. And as well as building the connections across the advisory group. And so that's about also learning about how we work when there are differences of opinion, because we might have a different sense of something depending on where we live or what our experience we bring to the table. And so part of that is also getting to learn how to work in these processes and and having stronger connections across the community. Next slide. Great. Is this my slide as well, Paul? Yeah, so what does it involve? So we'll have some full-day meetings. We'll also have some half-day meetings. Those are paid at a rate that's consistent and it's a pretty fair rate, I would say. All up, it's going to be about 4 to 5 weeks worth of work spread out over the next 2 years. And so there will be some preparatory work in between meetings from time to time, things to go away and think about, or be prepared when you would come in, and that time away from the meetings also gets paid, and the expectations around that will be communicated really clearly with people. Yeah, we really want to encourage people to be thinking about, you know, how they want to be involved, but also what's realistic for within, you know, your other commitments within life. So we'll be mindful of that. Next slide. Oh, okay. So yeah, the money. This is the most important part. So the rate is $500 for a full day and $250 for a half day, or $125 for those shorter blocks of work, which will be, you know, an hour or so, but not a half day. And so we're going to try and organise some in-person meetings as well. And so, where possible, we'll arrange for those travel costs to be met as well. All right, and so who can join? Well, as I said earlier on, it's anyone with living experience of alcohol or other drug use, or you're someone who's supported someone with living experience of alcohol and other drug use. We're looking for people over the age of 18 and that you live in Queensland. That's really important. And so how do you get involved? Well, you can submit an expression of interest by scanning this QR code, and we'll also send the link around again after the meeting, after this session, sorry. If you need any help filling out the form, we've tried to make it a pretty basic form, but if you'd like any assistance with that, you can reach out to either Paul or myself. We're really happy to provide that assistance. We don't really want any barriers for people expressing their interest, and within that expression of interest form, you can give us as much or as little information as you're comfortable. So that'll make more sense when you see the form. Great. I think that's it for me. Is it? Thanks, everyone. All right, back to Alison for Q&A.
Thank you. You guys can hear me all right? Yeah, great. Sorry, everybody. I had a bit of a tech fail at the beginning, so I was actually on my phone when we kicked off. Apologies about that, particularly if you were looking at the ceiling or I don't know what was going on. Anyway, the floor is now open for any kind of questions, comments, things that people are interested in. A really good question. How will conflicts of interest be managed? And I guess this relates, if I can just editorialise the question, I guess this relates both to what about people who are employed by organisations that receive Queensland Mental Health Commission funding, or other types of conflicts of interest? I don't mind. Paul, Joelle, both.
I might
Paul's
just
going to
jump
go
in
first.
quickly. Yeah. So because a lot of programs have been funded underneath Achieving Balance already, it's kind of quite a way through implementation. A lot of people who are involved will be, yes, receiving funds, as you said, Alison. Now, there's no exclusion on people who are, expressing interest in participating in the working group in their individual capacity if they are part of an organization that receives money. We just have a bit in the EOI survey form where you can just note if you are a member of an organization. And that's just for us to know, because if, for instance, in one of the meetings, we're discussing something of particular, importance to that organization, it's important for us to know kind of where people are coming from. Now, I guess it's important to think of conflict of interest as a bit of a broader category, that people have a lot of different stakes in what we're talking about. It's, as Joelle said, we would love you to bring your whole selves, and sometimes that means we might be talking about something that's more directly relevant, or that you have a particular view on or a particular stake on. And the way we'll do that is by kind of creating a process with the working group on what would work best and the best kind of process for everyone involved. But really what that might look like is at the start of every meeting, when we kind of know what we'll be talking about that week, we'll have a discussion about what we're going to talk about, and if people have a connection to any of the things we're talking about. If for some of the content we might need to kind of just flag that I'm connected to it, or in whatever way that might take. And then we'll just kind of manage that together and think about what that might mean for the discussion on the day, and if there might be a different way of approaching that particular discussion about that particular thing. So really, when it comes to a conflict of interest, that can mean a few different things in this context of the evaluation. But yes, we'll just be kind of putting everything on the table and discussing it as openly as we can within whatever's kind of practical, I guess.
Cool. Thanks very much, Paul. And we did talk about having that conversation at the very first meeting as well. Joelle, did you want to add anything on the, managing all of our interests?
Oh, just that conflicts of interests are normal, and that we all have them from time to time, and that, yeah, it's not about anyone getting punished or anything. It's about just being transparent so that we know where everyone stands.
Yeah, cool. Thank you. Another question. How do we get paid? Joelle, do you want to kick this one off? Thanks.
Of course. Yeah, so Able are going to be managing the kind of administration of the advisory group. And so once people have been selected as participants, we'll send you some forms to fill out, and we can work together on the best way to get that money to you. So, if that is that we set up people as sort of as a casual, and that they receive that as a financial payment to their bank account, or someone might want some vouchers, and so we can be flexible in what works best for that person on that advisor. Yeah,
that's great. Thank you. How many hours of work do you think? So we've got a couple of other questions. How many hours of work do you think this will be? I think you mentioned, Joelle, it's about 4 or 5 weeks in total over the course of 2 years, which actually raises another question for me. What happens if someone is fantastic and enjoying participating, and then, I don't know, breaks their leg and can't, continue to participate, or they get a full-time job, or they go overseas or whatever? How are we going to manage? Maybe this is a conversation we should be having anyway. How are we going to manage sort of replacing people? Or what do we do if someone says, look, I'm not going to be available for 2 months, or someone says, actually, I've got a full-time job, I can't do this anymore?
I think we approach each on a case-by-case basis. As if people are of the advisory group and something comes up, letting us know as soon as it's practicable for them, sharing that update with us, and then talking about what the next steps might be. And so for some people that might be about that they need to step away for 1 or 2 meetings and then can come back, or they have to step away and we think about someone else stepping in. And so, yeah, I think we would have a pool of at least people that are interested from the expression of interest, and that might be the first place that we recontact people to see if they're still interested and available, or if we had to replace someone.
Yeah. Thanks, Joel. I think that's right. Just the specific how many hours of work. We think 4 to 5 weeks of work, which 35 by 5, I can't do maths. Anyway, it's assuming it's about 35-hour week.
It's about let me get a calculator.
It's God. For researchers, we should be able to do maths.
It's about 150 to 175 hours over the course of the whole project.
Yeah. And we did say, didn't we, that some of it's online as a group, some of it's face-to-face in Queensland, some of it's doing work by yourself. We'll send you some summaries of some findings, and you guys, doing it in your own time, whether that's at 1 a.m. in the morning or, 9 p.m. or 8 a.m. or whatever. So you working, by yourself and providing comments on a document, or it might be on the phone. I mean, we really want to be flexible with how to build your input as the trusted advisors on the ground, to use Joelle's term. So if it's about picking up the phone, we'll pick up the phone. If it's organising a Zoom, we do that. If it's having a face-to-face chat, we do that. Someone's applied, Paul, but they haven't received a confirmation email. Have we got the system set up to enable that to happen or not?
Listen, Julian, from the kind of way that you phrase it, I'm going to guess that I didn't set that up. Please submit another one. I will be checking them all, and if there's double ups, I'll just know that that's been a double up. Apologies on that front, but if you're unsure if you've submitted, I encourage you to submit one, and then I can handle that on the back end. Thank you.
Right. So there's a question about impact of this evaluation. How is this going to be influenced by the current government position on drug and alcohol, which is more punitive?
It's a good question because it's a live issue at the moment. I think that the commissioner of the evaluation is the Mental Health Commission of Queensland, and I think that tells us about who the audience for this evaluation is. It's probably more focused on the bureaucrats, like the public servants, than it is on the politicians and the political. Is that fair to say, Alison?
I think that's right. I mean, that doesn't take away from the importance of the political context for this evaluation. And it's, you guys online know that you're sort of better than me from Sydney, but it's bad.
Also, this is not the first time that Queensland has had this type of approach from its government, and as Queenslanders have demonstrated in the past, they continue to rebuild after we've taken a few steps back, perhaps. And so I just wanted to put it out there that all that optimism around that things do change in Queensland, and Queenslanders are pretty sensible about their governments.
Yeah. Can I also just add in, I don't know that we said what would happen to the report at the end, because I think this speaks to the comment about, will the report be made public, particularly in the context of what the government did about the drug checking report? Paul, do we know the answer to that question?
I don't know that off the top of my head, Alison. I have to go through some of the documents to confirm, but we'll double check what the position is and confirm.
Yeah,
It's a great question, though, to the question of transparency.
Yeah, and I think, all the work that ABLE does and all the work that we do is about getting better government policy, getting better services for people, supporting harm reduction, supporting effective treatment. And, obviously that's that's what our work is about. And conducting this independent evaluation, it is about giving, objective, independent advice to the Queensland Mental Health Commission about what they would need to do better. I mean, that's to achieve those goals. So that's what we're on about. I think we've answered the questions that we've got up there, and happy to. Thanks, Molly. Molly's just popped in the expression of interest link in the Q&A chat. Paul, Joelle, what haven't we covered?
Maybe like what people can expect in terms of like next steps after the EOI closes. I realised what we hadn't mentioned. Sorry.
Well, letting people know that they actually did submit one. Yeah, so how long until we, obviously getting back to people after they've submitted, what's the process? Have we worked that out?
So next Monday, 5 p.m. is when the EOIs will close. Yes, put one in or put your second one in before then, and then we will get back to you 1 week after that. So by the end of Monday the 30th, or kind of by Tuesday, either kind of by email or by phone, whatever your preferred mode of communication was, we'll be letting people know by then. So so it closes next Monday, and then the following Monday we'll let people know. We are planning to have at least one of the kind of meetings of the working group in April. So it'll be kind of skates on and hitting the ground running, trying to get a meeting together so we can all meet each other and have a chat about any questions we have. And yes, getting started on the evaluation. But it would move pretty quickly. So yes, you'll hear back a week from Monday.
Great. And please spread the word. I mean, we've got the opportunity for about 10 people to work with us to inform government policy, to help advise the Queensland Mental Health Commission, to be our trusted advisors on the ground, and also to get some mentoring, whether that's from a research point of view, from people like Paul and myself, or from AVIL, Joelle, and the rest of the AVIL team. This is a great opportunity for something where, we're going to be learning from each other, and a great opportunity for your CV as well. Not that I'm obsessed with, advancing CVs, but I am writing grants at the moment, so I'm a bit obsessed with it. So spread the word. I mean, there might be someone you think, geez, that person would really make a fantastic contribution. Let them know and shoot them the link or our contact details or whatever's easiest for you.
Yeah, particularly young people as well. Like, if you know young people who may have been under the age of 8, like have only just turned 18 or 19, so they were under 18 during the phase of the strategy, that's really useful for us as well.
Okay. Anything else? Any other feedback you want to give us on this information session? We're always happy to be told how to do things better or differently. There are a couple more. Will you be requesting further information about us, as in what we've been doing in other advisory groups? That's a great question. I don't think so, actually, because I think the expression of interest form has got a whole bunch of the opportunity to tick some boxes, as many or as few as you wish to. Paul?
For the process, no, we won't be asking about involvement in other advisory groups or anything like that. If you think it's relevant to your participation in it, do feel free to include it. And yes, that would also go for when we do meet, if there are other things that are particularly relevant, like if another advisory group has dealt with the same issue or something like that, that might become relevant But yes, it will be a conversation between all of us. So not at this stage.
Yeah.
That's a great question.
Yeah. And the next one's an even better one. No, they're all good. Steroids.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, they're in.
Absolutely.
They're in. I mean, I think, we do the whole alcohol and other drugs. Sometimes it's alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs. And performance and image enhancing drugs and steroids doesn't get a look in, but yes, of course. And we won't go into how to define a psychoactive substance. But yes, indeed it does. Anyone else want to raise anything else, ask any other questions, provide us with any feedback? Now's your chance if you'd like to.
Even if you think you've got like 10% of the skills that are needed, like put in an expression of interest. If you're slightly bit interested, put in an expression of interest. Don't let your experiences or your lack of experiences stop you from putting yourself forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. Molly, thank you so much for putting Paul's email and Joelle's email into the Q&A box. We might just put up the QR code again, just in case people missed it. I'm not sure if the slides can go back up to the very last slide. Paul's the operator. Here we are. There's the QR code. The closing date is 5 p.m. on Monday, which I know is a short amount of time. The first meeting, as Paul said, is likely to be in April. But if you can't use the QR code or you get lost somehow, or computers don't work for you like mine didn't this afternoon, you can email Joelle or Paul or give us a call. You can find Paul's phone number on the website and just call the Oval office. Yeah. If email's not your preferred way of communicating. Thank you all very, very much for coming along. I know it was kind of short notice, but we're really excited to be leading this review process, and we're really, really excited that the Queensland Mental Health Commission has committed to meaningful engagement of lived and living experience. And this is a fantastic opportunity for you to have your voice. So we've got another great question. Will the work times be in business hours? Yeah, so Joelle, do you want to answer that question?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think some of it will depend on who is in the advisory group and their availability, but I think we want to try and, where possible, I think. Unless, do you have a sense that, like,
Well, I think we want to work with
the best people.
The best people. So I think there will be full day meetings that will not be on a Saturday or a Sunday. So there will be some in work time, but also we can do things like have meetings from, mid-afternoon through until evening. And as I said, there's some work that people can do whenever they like reading some of the drafts of some of the findings. That can happen at any time. So, hey, Paul, have we got a section on the QR code, the expression of interest for other comments? A free form?
There's other questions or comments. Yes.
Great. Yeah. So if you want to put any experience that you've had on other advisory groups or other things to note, you can write them into into the free form box. And in terms of working times, if there's an issue about business hours, please just let us know and we can take that into consideration when we're considering the applications. Thanks, Joelle. Sorry, I missed that that one down the bottom. Okay. What do you think, guys? Happy to wrap it up, or
Yeah, I think that's great. And if anyone did have questions, yes, as Alison said and Joel said, just get in touch with us. We're happy to answer them between now and next Monday, or, just get in touch.
Joelle?
Yeah, I just want to again thank everyone for coming tonight and for their really great questions and
Yeah.
showing their interest.
Yeah. We really appreciate it. Thank you all so very, very much. We'll look forward to our next opportunity to talk with you. Stay safe and we'll talk again soon. Bye-bye.